Hi.
Hi. Oh, you're really professional.
So, could you tell me the story of your new concept, Enter?
Really putting me on the spot. We're starting a new night on Ibiza this year, starting in July. It's 12 weeks, July 5th until September 20th, called Enter. And, there's many different levels, conceptual levels of the project. But the main point is that I feel that, anytime people come to a nightclub, or when people buy a ticket to go to Ibiza, to go on this vacation, people are planning to take a step out of their normal lives and to enter something special. And so we want to have something there that gives a different opportunity for people to experience compared to what else is happening on the island. We expect people to step into our musical world and, have an experience that is based upon a combination of music, technology, friends, all the things that come together to create a physical moment that is planted in your head that lasts a lifetime.
And how you plan to achieve that? What are the means?
It's not like rocket science, really. What's a great nightclub or a great moment in your life? Like on a dance floor with great lights, people around you, good music. That can be a great moment. In a strange location with things happening around you that you've never seen before, with technology, with interactivity. I try to think of all the different things, how we as humans take the physical world into our brains. It's sight, it's sound, smell, all these things. How can I play with that?
So you're going to interact, make people interact with all the senses. I'm asking because you've been always working on and experimenting with audio and visual stuff. So will that be incorporated in parties as well?
Yeah, in some ways, in the main room of Enter, we're actually taking a lot of the LED visual material away, because in that nightclub and in Ibiza, so much of it is so bling bling and flash that we want to have that room very much focused on the sonic experience. So we're playing with the architecture of the room to create a feeling where you can get lost. That's one of the rooms. The other room is quite light and it's a little bit more colorful and warm, and the music there is a little bit more houseier, so that's a bit more of the fun connection to the island. On the technology terrace, we have lights and visuals that are basically dumb. They just sit there until people interact with them, moving through the space with sensors, using your iPhone to actually sequence the experience. So there's multiple ways. And there's multiple levels of experience and participation. Like you go to a nightclub, maybe you go to the bar and you're like, okay, well you're there, but what are you doing? You adding anything? I don't know, maybe you look hot and people are like, well, that's part of the experience. Or maybe the person on the dance floor really getting into it and screaming is giving me feedback and making me play better. So it's this feedback loop. So no matter where you go, like there's that interaction, and we're just building more into that. We're using more than our physical interaction, we're also building technology interactions.
Electronic music seemed to have exploded in the US just recently through figures like Skrillex or Afrojack and people like that. And what you hear from all the underground electronic DJs and producers and artists is they're actually taking a piss of them. But you seem to embrace it somehow. You even did this interview with Skrillex from Mixmag, I think,
I don't.
How do you perceive?
I don't expect or feel that what I do is for the masses, But I do feel that electronic music can have a greater reach. I've spent the last 25 years of my life involved in electronic music and technology and trying to push it. So with so many people being so passionate about this music and promoting it and playing it for 20 years, of course it's going to fucking explode eventually. and get there, you know. And some of that, once it explodes, you know, we are not going to be able to control the different directions it can go in. Our job or our purpose is to control the flow of information and the flow of feelings and music that people who get into it on some bigger commercial, wider, cheesier level, whatever, find or have the option of finding a way to us, and then we show them what we do and what we're passionate about. So, you know, it's part of it. Do I like all the music that's out there right now? No. You know, some of it's horrible. You know, like, you know, how did some of these kids skyrocket so fast? But there's also some really great, passionate people. Like Skrillex, you know, I'm not the biggest Skrillex musical fan, but as a guy, he's on his mission. He feels really passionate about that mission, and he's fused electronic with his hip-hop rock background that I never had, and that's his thing. You know, he didn't grow up near Detroit. You know, he grew up, you know, near the beach, skateboarding on the West Coast. Of course, it's going to fucking sound differently. So, but this is an opportunity. It's a double-edged sword. We're at a crucial moment. We have the opportunity to bring more people into our sound and grow our scene with really new, fresh, cool people, which we need. We're all getting older. We need a younger generation. Or if we don't take it serious, we could actually lose part of that control, and it could become only about shit music. I didn't, you know, waste the last 20 years of my life to let this slip and let it go.
Your performances are quite technically, well, let's say complex or complicated. Even if you DJ, there's like different gears and it's all very intense. But then again, when you're on stage, there's like a million people around you all the time. How do you manage that? And what happens? I mean, is it perfectly rehearsed? And how do you deal with mistakes if they happen?
Well, there's no rehearsal. You know, the only preparation I do is listening to tracks that I play before. Sometimes I make notes on what I'm playing. A lot of times I just throw it in my computer, and the first time I actually play it out is in front of the people. And sometimes it's wonderful, and sometimes it can be terrible.
What happens when it's terrible?
I get out of it quick and continue, you know.
You forget about it.
Well, you can't care.
Emotions, like, are you feeling embarrassed or something?
No, for sure, I get embarrassed. I'm like, fuck, I lost the groove, or I shouldn't have done this. I should have stayed harder, or I should have went softer. But it's all a train of thought, you know. I definitely, you know, I don't rehearse. I'm too lazy to rehearse. There's too many other things going on, and usually, if I have a new idea or there's a new piece of equipment or whatever, I test it quick, and I'm like, okay, this looks good. Let's try it tonight. It's always been like that.
Is that your father over there?
Yeah.
That's Richie's father. I've actually noticed that your family is with you quite often.
My mom and dad and my brother always come to Sonar. It's been a tradition. I think this is their 10th year or 11th year. My dad introduced me to Kraftwerk and Tangerine Dream when I was a kid. So he goes through watching Sonar. He's helping here. He's at the party. He was with us at the Boqueria, the fruit market yesterday, dancing like, I would say, quite hard for my dad, which was like he was going for it. So maybe my mom didn't come this year, so I think my dad's letting loose.
Okay, so it's a family business. Do they help you with your work?
Yeah, but what is a family business? You know, come on, like
hiring your parents and your relatives.
I don't, I think parents and, as you grow up, parents support you, they nurture you, and you get to a point where there's an equilibrium for some years, and then probably it tips, and you become supportive of your parents. And but there's always that support network, and that's how it's been, and that's how life is.
That's how it is. But speaking of family. Minus was or is still quite like a family, but I've realized that Magda and Mark and Troy founded their own label and kind of like got away from or really like I'm really emotional, too emotional to say they left Minus. It sounds so harsh, but they actually did. I mean, how do you feel about it?
Well, it's like, for me, like I call, those guys the Minus alumni. They graduated from school, but if you went in there 1 hour ago, you had MoTA playing, DJing. You had Mark probably playing right now. All of them are playing in Ibiza, and that's how it is. Like, if anything, perhaps Minus is either a family where the kids have grown up, or perhaps Minus is a incubator school where you go through, and at some point, you got to kind of, kick them out, and people have got to go onto their own thing. It was a group decision. As much as they wanted to leave, we wanted them to leave, and it was the right moment for them to delve deeper into their own selves and become have more creative control. But at the same time, there's projects like Enter, where MoTA is the resident of the one of the floors, because I fully respect what MoTA is doing, and if I can still help in some way of her tangent, then I'm with her.
All right, but there's like some sake involved in the whole concept, and I've actually heard that you're a sake sommelier. Is that true?
I've been training for the last 3 years to become a sake sommelier. I wouldn't consider myself a full sommelier yet, because you have to do a lot more drinking than I've been able to do. I drink when I play, right? And then in between that, I have to think of new ideas. I have to run a record label and some other businesses. And if I spent some of that time drinking, more, I wouldn't get everything done. So I've done all the classroom things. I've traveled throughout Japan, meeting different sake professionals, going to breweries and things like this. It's my other passion.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you. How did you develop the ambition to explore this one drink?
Well, I like the purity of sake, how it's made. I like the balance that the Japanese people have between tradition and technology. And sake for me embodied all of that. It's like, even where I'm at now with the label and the music, there's a certain tradition to what I do, but there's also a balance between pushing forward and where I've come from, what I stand for, and where I want to go. So this is a lot of what that industry in Japan represents. And they're also, it's a mom and pop family-run business that reminds me of independent labels and this whole music scene. Now we're full of people who are passionate about what we're doing. Some of us make the living out of doing that, but the first thing that comes is the passion that wakes us up every morning to be part of this whole thing. And I feel that in the industry, the sake industry in Japan, it's absolutely there's a lot of beauty in it. And as I said, Enter is about taking that step into a new experience. And so if people know what I do musically, maybe they'll like sake. Maybe it will open their mind that they'll go home and want to go to Japan or learn more about Japanese culture. Maybe not. Maybe only 1 out of 1,000 people. But if we make a little bit of difference, if we open up minds, whether it's technologically or through alcohol or through music, it's about opening doors. We're trying to do that.
At this level of success and popularity that you have, and also all the time and experience that you have being that successful, how do you take criticism?
How do I take criticism? I think I'm okay. No, I'm probably not. I'm not. Yeah, I'm open to anything, but I'm also on my own path.
Are you a control freak?
For sure. I think you know that. Everybody who comes into my three meter circle understands that.
Yeah, and to quote one of Plastic Man tracks, do you actually have time in your life to think if you're happy with what you are?
Yeah, I do have time, and I go from varying degrees of happiness and sadness. So, yeah, I think it's a good point. It's like, do I have enough time to appreciate all the wonderful things that I've been involved in and that I'm doing? And probably what makes me sad sometimes is that there isn't enough time for all the things that I would like to do, or just enough time to appreciate what I'm doing, what I've done, and the people around me and what they're doing, and it's just like it's such a steamroller sometimes, and the people around me are holding on for dear life sometimes, and I'm holding on for dear life sometimes, but most of the moments are actually relaxed and really fucking cool. Thank you.